Hi, I'm Wayne and this is Bassador Woodworking. This pile of lumber behind me used to be a hexagonal wedding arbor that I built for my cousin's wedding. Today I'm going to turn it into an outdoor bench and give it to my cousin as a gift. There should be more than enough lumber here to build this outdoor bench, but first I need to take this all apart and figure out how much actual wood I have that's usable out of this. I made the hexagonal arbor a few months ago to be used in my cousin's wedding, and it ended up being a much larger project than I expected, as these kinds of projects always are. I made the arbor in 6 pieces so that it could be transported from my house to the wedding venue in New Hampshire in my Toyota RAV4. The arbor ended up looking great and could be assembled in about 10 minutes and broken down in about the same time. Okay, that only took a couple of minutes. This should be more than enough lumber. Now I just need to finish getting all of the carriage bolts out, and then I need to be very careful to remove all of the nails that are in this. I used an air nailer to put this together, and I need to make sure I get all of those nails out because I'm going to be resawing these boards, and I'm also going to be sending them over the jointer. And I just restored the jointer, so I don't want to destroy it on its first project. I came up with the idea of making a bench out of the arbor on the drive home from the wedding venue, as I couldn't see a practical use that I would have for having a wedding arbor at my house permanently. Still, it took me months to actually get around to working on it, and in all that time it's been just taking up an awkward amount of space everywhere I've tried storing it. Since I cannot use this whole board, I have to mark there, so that I know that that's not a full length. I marked the boards I was unable to remove all the nails from and used the 10-inch miter saw to cut down the boards to remove all of the nail-embedded areas. I could have done this at the radial arm saw, but I just installed a new blade on it and didn't want to risk it. The blade on the miter saw is cheap and old, so I don't necessarily mind if it hits a nail. So if I put it at... I used calipers to find the center point of the board and then used my table saw's DRO to dial in the fence to the correct location when accounting for the blade curve. When resawing on the table saw, setup is key, so I made sure my hedgehog featherboard was correctly installed. This is by far my favorite featherboard I've ever used. It can be installed and adjusted with one hand and it's rock solid when it's locked down. To resaw, I began by taking a shallow cut through the boards, flipping the board lengthwise and making another pass so that it cut through on both sides. I then raised the blade a little and repeat until I've made my way through the whole board. Gotta get my hands a break for a second. It's a lot of stress on your fingers. Alright, so that gives me all of those. I'm starting with the legs of the bench, so I begin by ripping the leg posts to their final width. And then cross-cut them to their final length at the radial arm saw.
I also made sure to label all of the legs. These two pieces will be the front legs. I repeated almost the exact same process for the back legs. They're a little different in that they're longer because they're also part of the backrest, but the assembly process is exactly the same.
I'm back in the shop today to continue work on the bench. I should have enough wood to make the base without issue, the armrest and back without issue, but getting the lid for the base is going to potentially cause problems. I might need to source some more 2x4s. I might need to make some panels out of some scrap. But we'll figure that out when we get there. For now, I'm just going to continue as if nothing is wrong, and then when something is wrong, I will adjust.
I began day 2 with some more resawing. The great thing about having the DRO on the table saw is that I can do processes like this in smaller batches. I don't need to worry about my setup not being exactly the same as the last time I made the cut. I can easily recreate precise setups by simply making sure the reading on the DRO is the same as I used last time. With the DRO, I know that I'll be able to return the fence to the exact place it was the last time. It has been an amazing quality of life improvement for the scatterbrained way I approach large projects.
Okay, now to use the biscuit joiner for the first time ever. Okay, that's a little bit close to the surface on that. Shit. Why is that so much? Is this the same height as this? They're not. Yeah, it's about as good as I'm gonna get. All right. So now, this guy, that's gonna be a weak point, but we'll have to deal with it. I'm gonna cut twice. Don't know if that's the correct thing to do to fix this or not, but we're doing it. So, if I did this right, which I don't know if I did, these will all just kind of slot in. I should grab a mallet in case this is for whatever reason difficult. Do you line up? Nope. You line up like this. Yes. Okay. So note to self for future, mark 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 for, so I know what side clips to each on each piece, because it's just dumb. Okay, that's one panel, ish. Let's gotta do that 3 more times. Here we go. Three more biscuits right in there.
I would really love it if I could make this entire thing out of only the wood from the Arbor. That way this is truly just made out of their wedding arbor, and no extra pieces. But I don't think that's gonna happen at this point, just seeing how utilization of the pieces is going. That being said, I don't hate biscuits. They're less of a pain than using pocket holes. I can tell you that, because one of the problems with pocket holes is, unless you have one of the newer jigs, and I don't know if this is the case or not with the newer jigs, but if you were using something that's an odd dimension, it doesn't play all that nice. Like, it's easy to set the clamp to hold the piece correctly, but getting the collar to not drill all the way through the piece of wood is finicky. It takes a lot of setup, a lot of like tests and making test drills and using up a lot of like the scrap that you could use on other things. It's just a material intensive guess and check. I'm taking the basic design for this bench from this issue of Wood magazine. This person posted this like really nice bench meant for like storing packages that you get in the mail and stuff like that. So I'm using that as the rough outline for what I want this bench to look like. None of the dimensions are the same, and a lot of the assembly is going to be different, but this is the basic outline of what I'm using. With the panels dry, I could cut them down to their final length.
And now I was going for 34.5 on the length on these. Now it's time to assemble the box and frame. So this is back left.
I attached the panels to the legs using wood glue and brad nails. I used a 1-2-3 block as a spacer to set the panel 3 inches from the bottom of the leg.
I'm an idiot. I slathered it with glue on the wrong side. Ugh.
I reinforced the connection between the panel and the leg using wood screws. With both ends assembled, I could then follow the same process to attach the front and back. I attached some scrap pieces of oak molding that I had lying around to act as cleats to hold the bottom of the storage area. I used some half-inch plywood I had left over from something else for the bottom of the storage area. It will not be visible, so I don't mind that it doesn't match the rest of the bench. I finished up day 2 by attaching the lower backrest. It is held in with wood glue, brad nails, and a couple of wood screws, the same as everything else. Before I left the shop for the night, I took a few seconds to clear some sawdust out of the shop using a Ryobi 18-volt leaf blower. I've never used it as a leaf blower before, but it works really well for this. Okay, so I made a mistake in my measurements. This is only supposed to be 27 inches high to match up with this. That way the railing will work. So I just need to cut this down to 27. Not a big deal. It's just right there. On each one, and I'll just use a circular saw and cut it down flush. Probably have better luck if I turn this up inside. Okay, now I can cut the armrests. I used my trim router to put a round over on the armrests. The armrests were a little too thin for the bearing on the top of my router bit, so I had to stack them to be able to route the edge without scoring my bench top. Next, I had to lay out the curve for the top backrest. To do this, I drove a nail into the workbench 2 inches from the bottom of the backrest on each end. This will be where my curve starts. I then marked the center of the backrest and pressed a flexible strip of scrap wood against the nails and along the center point of the board until I had a curve that I liked. Mine happened to be at about 5.5 inches. I then traced it with a pencil. I then cut close to my line at the bandsaw and then cleaned it up off camera with some sanding. I spaced the upper backrest using a 1-2-3 block, and then eyeballed it to center before mounting it with glue, brad nails, and a couple of wood screws. Yeah, not bad. really should have done this before I mounted it, but I forgot, so I'm doing it now. After routing around over on the backrest, I did a light hand sanding to remove any burn marks and to knock down some of the hard edges. Okay, so I need the internal measurement here, which should be in the area of 36. It's just under 36. Perfect. Okay. Big notches. $15.5, and this should be the same, but just $15.5. Cool. Something I'm building is actually square. All right, we're closing in on it now. Now I just have to cut some cleats to sit under here just to help support the lid so all the pressure's not just on this front part here. Then I need to give it a good sanding, knock down all the hard edges, then hit it with some pre-stain conditioner because this is all pine, it's gonna need it before I apply the stain. And then a bunch of shellac so that it will be able to withstand outdoors if they decide to put it outdoors. And then this thing is done. Okay, let's see, I need it to be about 17 inches. Oh my God. Okay, I'm done with the silicone brush. I fucking hate silicone brushes. Drive some screws from underneath to actually secure that in. But that holds it at least for the time being. Okay, so this needs to be go 16 by go 16 by 31 and we'll bring it in from there. And what did I say my width was? Like 34 or something? By 31. Nice, not bad. I did have to plane it a little bit to get it to fit the way I want it to, but overall, that's not bad. And then I'm gonna, once it's sanded and everything, that will fit nicely. I still have to route the edge and stuff like that so that it's now I need to put the hinges on. I have the lid fitted now onto the bench, and now I'm just kind of in limbo while I try to decide on hinges. These hinges are what I had planned to use, but this part is too long and hangs off the back. I can try to alter these by just kind of cutting off the third hole
re-rounding it and drilling a new one. It might look a little awkward though, so I'm gonna have to try it out. Worst case scenario, I do have these hinges that are just very basic cabinet hinges, which will fit and they won't look terrible, but I was really going for these. So we'll find out.
I cut down the hinges using the heart miter saw with a metal cutting blade.
This is the best $59 I ever spent. This little guy's a champ. I can guarantee this is not what they intended it to be used for, but...
I then drilled a new third hole in each hinge and cleaned up the holes with a countersink.
It's not exact, but it's close enough. No one will ever notice it.
I used the 2x72 inch belt sander to round the edges and to make both hinges have a similar profile.
Not bad. All in all, they're stubby and weird looking, but they'll be fine.
I gave the entire bench another sanding, being sure to remove any leftover glue squeeze out and setting any brad nails that were not fully buried. I then applied pre-stain conditioner to the bench and gave it about 15 minutes to soak in before giving the entire bench a wipe down with a clean towel. Next, I applied the stain to the bench. I used the same stain on the bench that I had used on the Arbor. I wanted the piece to be recognizable as being made from the Arbor if you knew what to look for. I left some of the carriage boat holes in the legs, and I left the inside of the storage area with its original finish. The stain application was very straightforward. I applied a thick coat of stain using a rag and then gave it about 15 minutes to soak in before wiping the excess away with a clean towel. I then gave the entire thing time to dry. Next, I applied a coat of amber shellac to the bench. This will protect the bench, and the amber color will provide the bonus of darkening the finish a little bit. The gunstock finish I used on the Arbor was a little light for my liking, and I think the amber shellac really helps with that. I then coated the amber shellac with a couple of coats of normal clear shellac to provide the bench with protection from the elements. After the shellac had dried, I gave the bench a final sanding with some 400 grit sandpaper, and I could finally install the hinges.
It's all done. I'm really happy with it. I think I'm gonna have to build one of these for myself. It kind of came out as more of a largest chair and not so much a bench, but I'm happy with it. Especially since this thing started as a pile of 2x4s. I did end up having to go out and buy like a pine project panel just for the seat because there wasn't enough material in the arch I took apart. And I wanted the whole thing to be made out of the same material, so I ended up having to just go to Home Depot and pick up a project panel. Hopefully my cousin likes it. She doesn't know she's getting it yet, so surprise if you're watching this. This is at my house waiting for you. This thing was a lot of work, but it was also very fun to build. I got to use a biscuit joiner for the first time. I've had one for a couple of years. My friend Ernie gave me one, and I just never gotten around to using it until this project, and I used it extensively to make the panels for the box. So it was really fun to build.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date with new projects as they are released. And until next time, thank you.